Hey guys, welcome to the Heart of David. Long video today, right? Obviously. I hope you could pay attention to the whole thing. I said I would do this video, and I'm going to read it. I'm going to tell you some stuff. Guys, I'm expecting another phone call. I have phone calls throughout my day, and because I deal with a lot of stuff, medications, all types of different things. So if I have to go to a different room, just don't mind me. Just fast forward it to wherever I am. These are the things that I go through every day. You see me on camera here, and really the only thing you know about me is that if you look in I Shouldn't Be Alive Part 1 to 4, you'll understand some of the things I do, why I have such difficulty doing this. And it's extensive. I used to have I do have another channel. I changed the name several times, but it was about pain, helping people with pain. The things that I suffer with, I'd put up. Some of the things don't even have videos. So I was trying to help people in that manner. You see me eating, of which I'll be doing very soon. I have a very demanding life beyond what you may think. And not for a second do I want to exalt suffering. I want to give you some hope, because the only hope that I have through this is looking at the things that are happening right now. That's giving me a lot of hope. I love studying the Bible. I love God. And like I'm learning a lot in about these last 5 years. I've learned a lot. And I'm coming to an understanding of the truth of the Bible, both new and old, that I didn't know fully before and will not truly know in a whole lifetime, right? By the way, the call I'm waiting for is about a rabbit. I've never had my own pet living alone, and I'm looking at getting one. That's a phone call I'm waiting for. And anyways, just this was a rabbit I used to have in my parents' house. He lived to be 13. He was deaf and blind. Poor thing, man. I used to, I felt so sorry for him. You know, we'd let him out and he had vertigo. He was really sick. And he would just kind of spin around because he had vertigo. It just kept going around. So what I would do is I'd get on the carpet and I would sit down. I was getting really sick myself. And I would make sure he had something to lean up against because I felt sorry for him. I wanted him to rest. So yeah, I'm looking to get one. I don't know when, maybe in the next couple weeks or so. I'm sure any people that follow me have physical and mental, neurodevelopmental issues, and I have a mix of them all. I'm not going to speak of my autism, my other associated disorders with them. I'm not getting into that. This is physical suffering. Why I have such difficulty. Do you know I went for so long not having my diagnosis? It was a very tough time with the world's most painful diseases. Imagine going 13 years and 18 years respectively not having a diagnosis. It was hell on earth. I was disabled. I couldn't even walk, and they didn't even understand. I felt stupid. I felt alone. But God, right? But God. The answer lay in very difficult diagnostic processes. And it was me who found out most of these things. I had to come here and live alone. God sent me here, I believe. I believe that. Because here I am talking to you. I was on a road to death. I was right next to palliative care. That's where I was. 95 pounds. I wasn't eating, I wasn't drinking for a number of years. So I wrote this, and I wrote this not that I'm looking for justification in my family, my family, like my real, like, genetic family, but I felt they never understood what it is I go through, so I wrote this. So give me a second. My throat's bad already, man. So what I wrote to them, I'm just going to read to you. I can't tell you how many times I've written a summary of my pain conditions for various reasons. I'm sure my own family thinks about me and doesn't have the first clue what the totality of my pain is. People would not believe it. What I deal with every waking second, it feels good to do it because I can simply pass this off and it'll always be with them or on my own Gmail. In 2004, after 13 long months, I had the serotonin syndrome from a very dangerous drug called Nardil. I suffered a lot. I was on other medications, so they didn't know. From a dangerous medication through constant violent convulsions, witnessed by my parents. Eventually, I tore my neck because there was so much whiplash. Pain began in the cervical region of my neck, so it began in the back. After months of videotaped whiplash, thrashing, it triggered an uncommon pain disorder. You may wonder why I took my life into my own hands in 2007, so I tried to take my life in a very serious manner. It was for this reason, because this is a pain-suicide disease. And they weren't, I'll just read what it says. It began in my cervical neck region and quickly spread to my face in the beginning, like suction sinusitis, like my facial bones were being crushed, and all I could do was hold my face. That's how it all began. I was in my bed for weeks. Within a few months, it spread to my entire body, and I gained my first intractable pain disorder. I remember shoveling my driveway, and I could barely push it. I was wondering, what the hell is this? My pain physicians told me it was something bad and something worse than fibromyalgia, but didn't know what. And there wasn't a lot of information on the internet in 2004 about this kind of stuff. The qualifications for RSD, or CRPS, complex regional pain syndrome, known as a pain-suicide disease, was so difficult to meet the criteria that people were killing themselves. They had to change it because people were killing themselves. What I went through, because people weren't telling me. That's one of the reasons I tried to take my life. Walking around with such horrific pain, no one's telling you anything, but you're going to all the appointments. Yeah, thanks a lot, right, to them? It was intolerable, left with no answers. My skin burns, aches, throbs, stabs, and the light in general got much brighter. No longer could I wear the same clothes because the fabric would rub on it, triggering an abnormal pain response. Like my skin, when it would rub on my skin, it would feel like it burns. Their negligence of not putting a name to it caused me to use, you can look back to part 1 and 4, I'm not going to say it, you can look, a very bad injury. I don't blame myself in the havoc it caused on my abdomen. I don't blame myself. It took 18 years after hundreds of appointments to finally be diagnosed with the nosoplastic pain syndrome, which matches the pain of CRPS. So I thought I had full body RSD, and he said, no, there's a new classification of pain disorder called the nosoplastic pain syndrome with the same symptoms. So I want you to imagine psychologically what I went through all these years without a label, which was much needed for my confidence sake. I took a big hit psychologically. Can you imagine going almost 20 years not knowing what you're... The bottom line is that is on par with the worst pain disorders on earth. So that's number one. As a result, after major surgery to my abdomen and trying to take my life, and a full midline incision to open my abdomen up, I now deal with hundreds of bands of adhesions and the worst kind of scar tissue called keloid scarring, the thickest scar tissue you can have. It runs from my sternum and pulls on that sternum bone. So it pulls I have an adhesion that is pulling on my sternum, just so you know. I can't describe to you what this has done to my quality of life, what is created years later and the immediate. I begged for surgeons to excise certain areas, but they wouldn't. They would give me false promises. As the years dragged on, I developed lactose intolerance due to the surgery, which is normal. Same with gluten. That was a big hit to my diet. Adhesions heal over a period of 1 to 10 years, or even longer. Mine gradually pulled tighter and tighter, and I have proof. You can see my belly button, it's pushed up about an inch, and isn't visible like it was before. If I don't write these things down, nobody would believe me. And it's good to say for medical professionals, I'm just writing to my family. So my adhesions are a pain disorder unto itself. They burn, twist, pull, they kink. I have a scar over my stomach in the letter K, directly overlying my stomach, and it attaches to the midline scar incision. So I have it over my stomach, and I have one going down, and they attach to each other. It's brutal in terms of eating. My stomach is stretched, as a pain physician explained to me. So my stomach is stretched probably because of my scar. I don't know exactly why. It's distended. The more food that enters my stomach, the more it distends and affects the scar and pulls. I got a drink, guys. So I went for a long bike ride. Anyways, if that person calls, I'm just not going to answer, and I'm going to call them back. And I give these in order too. And because of that, a number of years later, splenic flexure syndrome. Due to this syndrome being uncommon almost everywhere, I haven't been formally diagnosed, but I know full well what it is. In its intractable form, so that's the difference. This is intractable. People can get this, but not intractable, meaning it never leaves, cycle after cycle. Is extremely uncommon. It's a disorder of colic from the transverse colon, so the one that goes across, and then it gets trapped when it goes to turn. And people, it'll go up a bit and then it'll turn down. Mine goes way up because of my surgery that I had, and I didn't find that out till years later. It gets trapped in the splenic flexure where the colon is supposed to turn and go downward. It began in seconds, just in the flick of a finger. One night I was bedbound. It just began. It was brutal. It was likely forming slowly for years, unnoticed. I found my files years later and discovered after so much fighting that my surgery was in the splenic flexure. Here I was. I had all my files. I was looking all that. I was too sick. Got to a point where I was too sick to do anything for myself. And it wasn't a time where you could look in your files like you can now. Here I am arguing for the splenic flexure syndrome, and they can see that I've had surgery in the splenic flexure. My adhesions are the cause by mechanical means, so they're like hemmed in. It's a brutal disorder, guys. As my scar healed and tightened, it induced this intractable syndrome. I can't sit for long or travel in a car. It beats up into the flexure, and it even warps your bowel if you leave it alone for too long. There's one reason I go for 2 walks a day. It must be walked out and pushed through by exercise. walking moves it along. Hence why I try to teach people this on my other channel, because no one else was making a video. So I'm talking to my family. Walking moves it along. Hence why I always ask my brothers to walk instead of being in place. I'm not good being in place. I don't know. I do my best with these videos. You see me disappear, come back, keep listening. It's like if I stand here for too long, it literally warps that quickly. Everything that's in my transverse colon gets pushed to the splenic flexure and it can't turn. As my scar healed, it tightened, intractable. I can't sit for long. I'm telling them you would do the same, but you'll hear much more about abdominal pain further in. My best guess is my weight loss is from this disorder. It's a brutal disorder. And despite the calories that I eat, the list of foods not allowed right now, just this one disorder is 75% of all foods. And drinks. Of any abdominal disorder to have, and through much investigation in YouTube videos, people agree with me that this is different from all the others, like ulcerative colitis and Crohn's. This is worse. When I eat, my colon beats up into the flexure, and all the food, gas, all that stuff, it gets trapped, right? And it can't turn, and then it triggers a big amount of colic, nausea, vomiting, but I take meds for that. I'd be forced to my knees without it. That's why I starved myself for about 5 years, but there was a lot of other stuff going on. I had no treatment. Don't worry, there is a reason why I'm saying this, to give you hope that if I can do it, you can do it. So I'll just get to the, this alone ruined much sociability and even affects my mental health because it can get intense. It goes to my rib and out the back, like referred pain. It can make you feel like you have a heart attack because of its anatomical location. This syndrome is known to have physicians and emergency surgeons do exploratory surgery because they think it's a heart attack or bowel death. I almost had bowel death last year because of this syndrome. That's what these symptoms can produce and can be frightening at times. I'm not ashamed of composing this because I know and understand how my pain began and why I did what I did to trying to take my life. I lost 60 pounds of good muscle and not fat. I'm saying I'm still quite tough, and I've been working out now for 6 years with no excuses and for an hour every single day. Remember, I'm talking to my family. I find it necessary to stay alive. Some of my body, like the back of my shoulder, is wasted and maybe neurological after another suicide attempt that I had. That was really bad. That's when I was close to being in like palliative care. You have to watch part 1 to 4. Go look for it. Because I don't want to repeat that. So I lost 60 pounds. I tried to, I did harm myself. Part 1 to 4, guys, I you know what, like this, I did that and it was full. So I'm blaming some wasting in the back of my shoulders on that, but I don't know for sure. The stomach flu last summer was bad enough as the stomach flu. I got intussusception with that, of all things. That means my bowel was going to die because it folded up like a telescope. What it does is there's your colon, right? There's muscles that move it along. And they told me that after a CT, they say something is sticking up there for this for your bowel hits it, and then the rest folds up like a telescope. I know it's the splenic flexure syndrome that likely caused that, but they don't know much about it. They're ignorant about this syndrome. In most cases, think of it, 99% of cases need emergency surgery, but luckily it vanished. That was a chance of 2 in 1 million, in case you didn't know, in adults, not children. Can you imagine how cursed I feel at times? The pain from intussusception was so unreal that my dad, when he finally arrived at the hospital, I was begging him to punch my legs. I don't know why it hurts your legs, but my legs hurt so much, and I have adhesive arachnoiditis too. I had to be rushed to the hospital without pain meds because I kept vomiting. I had the stomach flu and intussusception. It took at least a month and a half to recover, and I didn't know for sure if I would. And I kept it to myself. Can you, I was scared as hell. I wouldn't say scared as hell, but I was frightened enough. Like back in my bed, it's just brutal. I was by myself as I like, but why? It's too difficult to live around someone like this with so much abdominal pain. I need peace. If not for being on my own, I wouldn't have been capable of teasing apart literally 10 different syndromes. And having them recognized, that was very tough to do. Imagine having that task, solving 10 different issues. People, family, doctors, whoever you deal with, easily forget the diseases, that these diseases don't rest. Only physical therapy and opiates can help me, and I will not leave God's name out. I guess this is going to be longer than I thought. I have to eat while I do this, so just give me a sec. Around 2015, two things occurred close together that seemingly will never be solved in terms of the cause. Around 2011, I woke up. Sorry, I said 2015, I know that's but this is 2011. I woke up one morning to a noise that was far away in a neighbor's yard. I was shocked that it had awakened me in an instant, meaning going to bed without and waking up with. This happened and left me in confusion ever since, but was too ill to solve it because my condition was just deteriorating. My spinal disease, which affects spinal nerves, occurred 2 years prior and could be associated, but I don't know. I didn't know my diagnosis for my spine for another 10 years. In short, I gained hyperacusis to the point that I couldn't even sit around my mother any longer on the couch. My mother was also sick with cancer, stage 4. As I was already couch dependent. That isn't all. Obviously some nerve pathways had to be involved, and I didn't hit my head. I was only diagnosed with autism by an autism expert later in life in 2022. I did suffer with misophonia, but never fully recognized what it was, nor did I think it was abnormal. I grew up hating chewing sounds and tapping, but it wasn't at high levels until that morning I woke up to the noise. So I recognized that I did have it before, but it went up dramatically. They happen concurrently, but why? Hyperacusis and that, because it hit the same pathway somehow. That's been one of my biggest mysteries since that time, and I do not expect an answer. I have SPD with autism, a sensory processing disorder, so it's my best guess it's somehow short-circuited due to nerve pathology. What else? I knew for sure it wasn't psychological because I just woke up with it. And people with misophonia, that is how it happens. Imagine trying to get close to a woman that way. I lost everything for wanting help or kids. for wanting help in 2004 with that medication. That's how this all began. I researched diligently because I wanted to treat my anxiety. Not anymore to the degree, but I was forced to wear wax earplugs for good, or risk waking up all the time. The question lingers, what bodily system has not been affected in my body? Number 5, adhesive arachnoiditis. And that's not the number of things I have, because there's things also mixed in. Adhesive arachnoiditis. I could compose 20 pages of what this did to me. Although CRPS is known as by most as the world's most painful disorder, so it's the same as the one that I have over my full body. People with this disease like myself, in equal form being the nociplastic pain syndrome, agree that this is worse because they have both. Many people who have AA have CRPS, and they say this is worse. It's another pain-suicide disease. Although I composed my autobiography for anyone to see, I wanted my family to read it all the way through, and much has been discovered since that point. This focus on my pain disorders is much better, though, because it's primarily focused on this. What are the nicknames for this disease? The devil's disease and the disease of no hope. That's why you see me going back and forth. It's also my abdomen, but it's my legs. The very reason I became bed and couch dependent for a decade, it took a specialist from California to recognize it. The way mine came about was unusual compared with most, because most people are from invasive procedures that poke through the dura mater of the spinal canal, but mine was from another suicide attempt. So I had a few. I didn't want to live, and you'll hear. This is the last disease you want. When I tried my life, I didn't do it for fun. I had gone through hell not created by myself. My book explains why, and I can prove it. It was litigable. I could have sued them. Listen. I went for honest help and was given, against my knowledge, an antipsychotic, which was in 2013 the highest selling drug. That was 2009 I got it though. And I was off opiates, trying to solve my abdominal pain issues. I was so desperate I went in for help, and I was willing to see anyone so I could get a referral. I go into psychiatry, they say, we'll take you, hoping that something will come out of it. I wake up in the morning, they give me my meds, as they know what my meds are. And there's something in there I didn't recognize and took, but I trusted them because they know I'm allergic to this stuff because it says so in my files. So imagine I'm off opiates with all these different pains. Then all of a sudden I developed 3 dyskinetic disorders: acute dystonia, acute spinal dystonia, and acute akathisia. I could have sued them for that, but I was too sick. Disorders of movement, which felt like hell itself while off opiates attempting to solve my abdominal issues, which I couldn't understand at the time. I should have sued them because my files had a red warning. There was no reason for it. My mind was clear and I was just fine. That was a top selling drug of 2013, to give you an idea, Big Pharma, of how many different things they give it for: anxiety, bipolar, the elderly. Give me a sec. An antipsychotic was the top selling drug of 2013. Nobody could help me no matter what I did or presented myself. That's why I kept trying to take my life. They were idiots, I'm sorry to say. I went everywhere. I did everything I could. I broke my ankle and within 6 months to a year became mysteriously progressively disabled. I was treated, I wouldn't say so fully, but I felt like it, like a hypochondriac, after nothing was found with my spinal disorder. As is normal in the medical field when they can't find something. At 6 months post-injury, I was forced to drink alcohol. I took it, to stop my leg pain because it's equal to terminal cancer equivalent pain. And by the way, in literature it says bone cancer. So off opiates, that's the way it is. Can you picture and imagine the shame I experienced with absolutely no diagnosis? Within 1 year, I really couldn't walk anymore, and my legs became so weak. My legs were so spastic and burning, restless leg syndrome, double-sided sciatica, which later tipped me off to my diagnosis 13 years later. I lost everything I had that mattered. My spinal canal was building progressive scar tissue and connecting to nerve roots and clumping, then adhering to the canal wall. All my nerve roots were attached by scar tissue. They were attached to one another and then the canal wall. That's when it gets bad. That's called adhesive. Adhere. I have my MRI and know how to read it because I've studied it. It got so bad that I couldn't even lay my legs flat in my bed, or felt like they were tearing, and sleep only 2 hours. That was spread out in a 24-hour period. I'm in a lot of pain right now, guys, from trying to stay still. My lower back would pull if I let them out. It was brutal. My dad had to come to my room 3 times a day to give me a shot. Sitting down was tougher later on, as I only live on my feet, as is normal in this disease. So I have a whole mixture of diseases, pain disorders and disease, that I don't sit. That's why I trick myself with food for about 3 hours at night to give myself a rest. I try to be as strategic as I can. This disease will break anyone down many times. Without an opiate, it is equal to terminal bone cancer pain, and I can, just as I'm talking to my family, I can give them the medical literature. There are people who are better than me, and there are people who are worse. Pain flares caused by tearing those adhesions, i.e. when that guy, pushed me against the wall, okay? Consider all these things I'm telling you, and I warned him. So I have adhesions in my spine. If you lift too much or twist too quickly, those can tear. If those tear, they cause hell. And when I say that, you can have a pain flare for a full month. A full month. Like you're just holding on. A full month. My legs feel like scorpions are stinging them, shocking all the time in numb legs. There's much more, but I didn't put it in here. So now you know and understand that I went 13 and 18 years respectively not having those important diagnoses, and made suicidality much easier for me. I simply wanted to die, and so would you. I just wanted to know what these things were. I deserved it and felt ashamed for wanting death, without being recognized, and wished for it almost every day. It's actually soothing composing this, because the only thing I wanted in my life was my family and friends to see what I was going through, and I'm not even done. By the end of this, tell me that God isn't with me. Without opiates, I would die of adrenal exhaustion. If I didn't have my meds, I'd be in a lot of trouble. Sometimes I blame myself for not working, although I do a lot of work. What I mean is like working full time. I'm as busy as any of you guys, I'm sure of it. From the time I wake up, my hands never stop working. I try to make money at least, and only recognize that I could have been anything. Knowing what autism is could have helped me understand who I was. I know it would have. I have nothing more to say than this is the most destructive pain condition on earth. And it was considered extremely rare, but that's not the case anymore, because these shots, like invasive spinal shots, those needles go through your spinal canal. There's a lot of people walking around right now that don't have a diagnosis because the big pharma and all those people won't conference about this, the seriousness of this. I developed a website, I just did, and my purpose is to spread this to doctors. That's another thing. I'll leave it in the description box so you can take a look at it. It's an interactive map to show you what doctors have been reached. I haven't started doing it yet, but you can see it in the description box. I just created that, like finished it. It's an ongoing project, but so only in the last 50 years has this gotten bad, because they're putting needles in people's spines. So when you see someone and they can barely walk, and you look on their face and they're like, like this, they're like a lot of pain on their face, you better believe it could be that. I had to endure some nurses complaining about having to push me in wheelchairs, telling me to do it on my own. I don't want to say really anything more about that. Because I tried to take my life, I ended up with a brachial plexopathy injury in my shoulder, a torn sternocleidomastoid muscle, torn trapezius, induced occipital neuralgia, and trigeminal from extensive nerve damage from what I did. So I'm talking to my family. You guys saw my neck. It couldn't have been any larger. I can't read that. And then after that, I had a traumatic catheterization in the hospital. Brutal. I don't even want to go through that. It's in that part 1 to 4, I think. I lost all feeling in my shoulder and arm and neck for a week. A discussion with my dad a month ago revealed to me that he thought that those damaged nerves, brachial plexus, torn sternocleidomastoid, all that stuff, that pain has gone away. No, it never goes away. It got better, but it never goes away. I told you this would be long. The traumatic catheterization itself was also litigation. I could have. Anyone can when that happens. It wasn't my fault. I'm not one of those persons who's going to say, I'm going to sue. And yes, I know that assault the video before, but I'm talking about viable reasons. These are permanent injuries, life injuries that only heal partially according to a person's willpower. That's another thing that I'm saying. This is about willpower, God and willpower. So it's intractable now. My shoulder is messed up and not the same size as the other. A brachial plexus is the most painful injury rated by people who get it themselves from accidents from seat belts. So when you're in a car accident and you suddenly go forward, it tears your shoulder from your spine, those nerves in your spine. Most nerves in your body, that's why it's the most painful injury. You know what, guys, I don't even like doing this, but I wanted to show you. I don't like doing this, really. When the feeling returned, it burns like hell and has no end for about 2 years non-stop. After you get a brachial plexus, you're going to go through hell. It's called the stinger. Brutal is a word, and you wonder why I wanted to end my life. I get a lot of frozen shoulders over the years, but my major neck muscle is torn. My sternocleidomastoid, responsible for breathing, turning your head. For the rest of my life, that neck muscle, you can look it up. One of the symptoms is it feels like it repeatedly tears, but it gets better that same day. It's very strange. So it tears if I exert it. I simply put up with that because I have to be in shape. I do a lot of push-ups. I was gaslighted by the neurologist in that hospital that I had no other disorders induced except for the brachial plexus, and I was complaining about other things. You wonder, man, I was treated not well. I went for 6 years without knowing what occipital skull, my traps were severely burning, didn't tell me it was torn. Those things are termed also as pain-suicide diseases. So there I was, now I have 4 of them. Trigeminal neuralgia, I had 5 teeth removed. The same pain can overwhelm my whole occipital, wrap around my head, my eyes. So that makes 4 pain-suicide diseases. My regular neck pain on a scale is roughly 8 out of 10 every day. You might, if you were in my place, you might find that a lot more. And at best, and I mean, I have 10 days, like 9-5. I woke up for 1 year in brutal neck pain after only a few hours of sleep, and it only improved somewhat after 2 years. As you can see, I have a pain disorder of some type in every bodily system. Remember, I'm talking my family. Top, middle, and bottom. I'm not even dumb, but you can understand how I can teach others. Sorry guys, I'm trying to eat as I'm doing this, so let me pace. I'm actually going to be back in a minute. There's nothing more I hate, but I hate, this isn't my time of day to do videos, believe me, but I wanted to get this done. I hate nothing more than eating and being around people. It's very tough. I have several colic disorders, very hard to manage. Like, you know, I could get very irritable around somebody. So listen. I'll just say, biliary hyperkinesia was induced by, I can't say it even now. They're going to say it's misinformation. What the heck? That's why they took down one of my videos, Why It's the End Times, Part 2. I don't want this taken down. And if it does, by the way, go to Rumble. I do have an account there. But I'll change the name to this if it does. Same name. I was pressured. I gotta be very careful. I was pressured by the government. Go certain places, feel pressure, all that type of stuff. I believe what happened could have easily killed me and was probably myocarditis for reasons specified. I can't prove that right now. I was messed up for 2 full years. But I only had my heart imaged after 1 year. My heart was pounding. I had rash on my abdomen, chest, and neck for 6 days. Brutal abdominal pain. And when I would go to walk and exert myself, I felt like I was going to pass out. I can't even begin to tell you what I went through. And I woke up when this first began because I couldn't breathe. So, yeah, I do believe it was. You going to take me off of YouTube for that? I even barely made it to the toilet to urinate, and it hurt. My body was shaking and I had a fever. When I finally took my pain meds, I had such severe abdominal pain and could only hold my counter for balance. My heart was pounding intensely in the coming months. I said when I went for a walk, I felt like passing out on the spot, but nobody even knew, and not many people cared. I just finished my impact statement for injury compensation, so you can apply for injury compensation. I did that. I wrote an impact statement, and I've sent that off whether anything happens or not. My abdomen, chest, and neck were covered in a rash for 6 days. My heart was imaged too late. I said this. It took no less than 30 hospital visits. It was probably 40. And it was me who pointed out the diagnosis to the radiologist in his face with my dad present. He read it incorrectly right in front of me. This is what my life has been like. I corrected him, and they made my case a teaching tool in the Ottawa Civic Radiology. The chances of my gallbladder hyperkinesia for men, for women it's 1 in 30,000, for men it's 8 times that, so it's 1 in 240,000. I won the lottery of hell. Those walks were through exertion were heart related. Now I have a permanent gallbladder attack disorder that isn't just episodic, but like pancreatic cancer. But why? This is when I'm talking to my family. I said, test me. I don't even put my hand in my gallbladder. It hurts so much. That's why I take these little colic pills. They're very powerful for that, for stones, for gallbladder attacks. If you scour the internet for sufferers, it's easy to give you an idea of what I live with every single day. Look up gallbladder hyperkinesia or biliary hyperkinesia. Look what the people are like in the videos. You writhing, like you're writhing. That's what it'll make you do. I'm seen as many by being okay, I'm sure because I have God and I work damn hard. So imagine having a kidney stone. I get kidney stones all the time, and only since I got this gallbladder disorder. Can you imagine? Like just a few months after this, and I did all the reading I could, and they said they're connected, that the gallbladder is connected to the kidney stones. So can you imagine having a kidney stone while you have that biliary hyperkinesia? They're horrible. You have severe adhesions and the splenic flexure all at once. Guys, that's my life. As I was going to the hospital over and over again, I was given an endoscope to investigate, and they located 4 peptic ulcers from a drug called Toradol for my spinal inflammation. I had been on that. It wasn't for spinal inflammation. I didn't know, but I was on it because of the pain in my legs. But it was a spinal suppressant. I had been on that for 10 years now. I was frightened to remove it. I knew in my heart that the ulcers had nothing to do with that allergic reaction, and that my gallbladder, and was my gallbladder, which proved right after I removed it and healed those ulcers. You see, I'm on a schedule, guys, and I got to eat these foods. Like, it's really tough because I have to, because of the splenic flexure syndrome, I have to eat slowly. Because of my other abdominal disorders, I have to eat very slowly. And because of that, so imagine me being born again and thinking about fasting and all that type of stuff. There are things that can happen to me if I do fast. I have to eat frequent meals, and if I eat too much, I get sick quite quickly. I'm always having to keep in that schedule. So right now I'm holding it back. So I was right. It wasn't the peptic ulcers that were the problem. But I'm sure they were starting to do something. So I took that Toradol away and upped my opiate. And stomach flu caused intussusception, which is very rare. So it triggered that. I believe it was a splenic flexure syndrome that ultimately was the thing. But it was a stomach flu that started it. So intussusception is very rare, but why? No, I said, wait, what did I say here? The stomach flu caused intussusception, which is very rare, but why? Now I feared the stomach flu because apparently it can kill my bowel. If I get the stomach flu again, will that same thing happen to me? I don't know, because the things I suffered with, you can't find other people with this, in this, like, my best guess is it wasn't my adhesions, but the splenic flexure syndrome, because it holds everything back. You'd think so, right? It comes in cycles. That's why I have to walk it out. It's like it has a timer on it, and it, you just start eating that goes beats up into it. And that's why, like, I seem intense in a video, because it's going up into my friggin' ribs. So after this video, you best believe I'm gonna start doing some work and doing that. I have to be in a constant state of motion. It's a hard life, guys. Can you see why I wanted to? And can you see who helps me? I tried to contact Rare Diseases by phone, but they never. Sorry, they did get back to me, but then I forget what it was, and I just never got in contact with them because they wouldn't answer me. You know, I was ready to give them information that just isn't available. Try looking the splenic flexure syndrome, see how much information you can find. I kept inheriting diseases that are serious and uncommon. Imagine being couch dependent for 10 years and suddenly moving out. Take care of your own place. My dad's like, you got to go. We didn't get along. It did happen, and I fought every bit of the way and created many things along the way. After being close to palliative care, that was more in 2016, 2017 that was. But it was still bad after that. When I came in this building, I could barely walk. I created a lot of things along the way, gaining independence, building up my credit. I didn't have anything. What did I need? Finally got my apartment in my own name. You know, you know, my dad was a co-signer. I finally got that off because I built up credit. Selling stuff, you know, I am willing to do work. It's mostly seasonal, but working full-time would be very tough for me. Working half-time would be tough for me. I'm always willing to sell my beeswax candles and do that. I'm always willing to do that, but right now I'm just really not into trying to push that. And, you know, it's hard to do. It really is hard to do. There's other things I could do, but I have other things in my life right now. I live like a Marine day in and day out. I work out like 2 walks a day and not a light workout. It's a full body workout, but it's push-ups, dips, those types of things every single day. This is just my family. You might ask, Dave, why are you wasting your time writing this? There are many times I hear my family getting together, but too many people are going. But too many people go. Like, you know, they'll be like Christmas, there's like 15 people. No thanks. Would you want to be around people like that? I try anyways, but I can't sit down. I could sit down for a bit, but I don't even eat your foods. I live my life constantly doing things. So I say, hey, you guys want to talk to me? Let's go for a walk. Yes, I'd say come to my place, but I'm better when I'm able to move. You know, like if someone comes over, it's like I got to continue doing my stuff. You'll never catch me not doing something productive. I almost have to. If you keep a flow and distract, my abdominal pain and my legs are always on fire. It's like boiling oil, and God forbid I get a massive pain flare, which feels like death. Pain is so terrifying you can't help but moan out loud. That just happened to me. I've been in hallways and emergency rooms where people were just staring at me because that's what it was like. Just one trigeminal nerve attack can have you thinking about suicide that day or the very next day, even if it's your very first attack. It's that bad. Picture a toothache, times that by 5. It's like a drill in your jaw and you can only hold on. I'm used to raw pain. I don't let it eat me up, but how do you think I feel about the holidays? No one truly knows how difficult speaking is, especially the telephone, which is common with throat dystonia, which is not unlike mine. It's adductor versus abductor muscles of the throat. So you look at RFK, it's like that, but a different muscle. This is exactly why I asked my family to go walk with me, and it goes well, versus on the spot where I need to move and shift all the time. Walking helps tremendously and makes conversation easy. Of course, I hide many things from people when I'm with them. I'm not looking for pity or justification. I'm going to say something at the end of this. I only want you to know what my daily life consists of, and to be honest, do you know of another person in that same place? I get underestimated, and sometimes I want to yell this out, what I'm suffering with. How do you do that? I love hearing that I look good, but I guarantee you it was God. Without him, I would want death every single day because there would be no hope. Like, seriously, man. When I accepted through faith God, Jesus Christ, in my heart, I know my pain went down because of that hope, because of the indwelling Holy Spirit. Just unbelievable. Like it started making it bearable. All I thought about was going to MAID. I was 1 year away from actually being able to. I know it was God who held me back. Like, they made, I'm having a very difficult time speaking right now. MAID, you couldn't get in, no matter what you're suffering with, you couldn't get in if you had a mental disorder with it, or even neurodevelopmental, which is kind of unfair, but if you don't have a diagnosis, I don't know, I forget exactly how it goes, but I missed my diagnosis by a year, and I would have been accepted a year later. Anyways, I'm going to go into a panic attack here. This is brutal. Just want to finish this off. So through God, I know that I went down, likely through hope and knowing there's another better place beyond this dying world. I hate this world. So do you. Not like that. Like, I hate you. Not like that, man. I can walk as far as I want now, most of the time. And that is a miracle if you saw where I was. My story is a God-given miracle if you only knew the way I used to be. I don't know, there's not much. I don't really want to make this video, but I want to show you that when you see me, I've done a lot of videos, there's 300 and some videos, and I've never really told you. So there it is. There's other things I suffer with too. Guys, you know what this does? I suffer mentally as well too. I'm not going to get into those because that's too in-depth for me. You've heard the things already in other videos if you follow me. There is no other way but Christ. I don't know of another person that has the same suffering as me. I'm sure there is. It makes it tough that way. the things that happened to me were really unfair. And I'm not one of those people that's like litigation, like psychiatric patients saying, I'm going to sue you and this and that. When you look at my life and the stories surrounding them, I absolutely deserve to. Thanks for watching my video, guys. God bless. Now I have to eat.